high school to work with a businessman, Earl Smith. He is the owner of Bill Smith Appliances. And we went out and collected not absentee ballots, I got absentee ballots on my brain. We get them legally and lawfully, and that's why I don't have any handcuffs. What I'm looking for in the next city manager is, let me come back to, and we went out and we collected petitions, and we got the issue on the ballot, and we took our case to the citizens of Fort Myers, and we're very gratified that they ratified our choice to go to a city manager form of government. Fort Myers at the time was the only city in Southwest Florida that had a strong mayor form of government that I believe was ineffective, and they've got our city in a whole lot of debt. But as we move forward, I believe we need a city manager. I don't like the city manager that we have here. I think we need a city manager that's going to be active in the community, go to churches. I remember when Billy came, there was a comment made in your paper by Councilman Flanders. He said, well, I hope he doesn't be for only those people. And I often wonder, what does he mean by that when he made that comment? And I think our city manager has been very distant from our community. He doesn't go to our churches. He doesn't come in our neighborhoods. As I go and talk to people in World War II, I think the main thing is that the city manager is going to have to live in the city, and they're going to have to show leadership, be a person that can see things down the road. But most importantly, you need somebody in your city manager's chair, and I think we wouldn't have all these problems that we have if you have a competent administrator. With Billy Mitchell, we got a person who had never been a chief executive officer before. So I believe you need to have somebody who has competence, somebody who has been a CEO of a city before and have that experience.
Thank you, Anthony. Mr. Streets?
Well, based on this is my first time experiencing a city manager, there's always some improvement. First of all, I think we need a city manager that knows the city and will listen to the people and be flexible. One of the things, and not to condemn anybody, he hasn't been a terrible city manager. He and I have often disagreed on the dispersing of services, and we still do. We had a heated conversation the other day, and I told him what needed to get done, and it got done. But the problem is that we have to perhaps do a search, and even including some people that are in our own area. This is not about what I want, it's what the will of the people. When we start selecting people, first of all, we need to hear from the community of what they would like to see. We should not take the responsibility ourselves, but even though we'll have to vote, but we need to listen to what you would love to see. That's important. Listening to the people, give them a voice. It is, at the end of the day, for the people. And let's make the right decisions, because, when we first started at this city was in $17 million worth of debt when I came into office in 2007. We've got it down now without using all our reserves to about $3 or $4 million. So we've come a long way, but there has been some things that have not been the greatest of things. There have been some feathers ruffled, and that's okay if it's criticized for something positive. Like Stephen said, let's stop the negative. We're not going to get anywhere. We know what we have. We know what, now we have an opportunity to get stuff better. So let's do that. Let's focus on, again, the people, our young folk. That's going to bring all of these programs with the help of you all to put us back where we were before, which we will call Fort Myers Finest in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bianco?
We have a great opportunity. Our city manager is retiring September 30th, I believe, right, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. City council, our city attorney is retiring September 30th, and I respect the fact that he gave his service. He did the job that he did, and it's our opportunity to bring someone else new on board. We need fresh, vibrant ideas. I would like to see somebody that comes into the city of Fort Myers that wants to make a mark, that sees a city with tremendous potential and wants to be able to say, this is what I did, this is what I was able to accomplish. And for us to understand that we may not have that city manager for 20 years. We may have that city manager for 10 years. And they did such a fantastic job that guess what? Atlanta's calling, LA's calling, Chicago's calling, New York's calling, Miami's calling. Everybody's calling his number, her number, because they've done such a great job in the city of Fort Myers. Someone that has those fresh new ideas, that's willing to work with others, that's willing to work with city council in a completely bipartisan way, that understands what the entire city needs. All 6 wards, downtown, the new Midtown, someone that gets the entire process and knows how to work with people, that understands how, using a Jim Collins quote, how to get the right people on the bus and then figure out what seats they need to sit in. City manager. A manager manages. A manager places the proper people in the right positions and understands what their duties are, knows what their strengths and weaknesses are, and builds a team around them. Somebody that's a visionary, that can take the city that we just talked about before, that has tremendous potential. City manager's retiring in about 30 days. We're losing assistant city manager. We have multiple city council races. We have tremendous opportunity.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Anthony, you have a chance for rebuttal.
If you are happy with the direction of our government in the city of Fort Myers, I'm not your guy. One of these guys is your guy. If you believe that in the rhetoric of the pie in the sky, everything's going to be all right, I'm not your guy. They're one of your guys. We are in a situation where our babies are getting killed in the streets. People on Economy Street are drinking dirty water. There are lots of problems. We can't sugarcoat it. We have to deal with it. I'm a realist. I'm going to deal with what comes before me. I'm going to address those issues. And if some people say that's negative to address the real problems that are facing our community, then you ought to vote for them. But I'm going to keep it real, as the young people say. And I'm going to tell you what you want to hear and what you need to hear. These other politicians are going to tell you some pie in the sky fluffy stuff. Everything's going to be all right. You won't get that from me.
Thank you, Anthony. Before we get to our next question, if anyone in the audience has any questions for the candidates, Cindy McCurry-Ross up here to my left in the front row will be glad to take them from you. There should be index cards and pens on the back table. Feel free to fill one out if you would like to. Councilman Street, you're first for the next question. What can be done to restore businesses and create jobs along Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and improve Palm Beach Boulevard to the gateway the city has always wanted?
And those are the things that I have advocated for ever since I've been on this council, and even before I got on the council. One of the things that took all of the jobs and businesses on MLK and Palm Beach Boulevard was the construction by the Department of Transportation, the Florida Department of Transportation. As a police officer, I said many years ago, when they did what they did to Palm Beach Boulevard, that killed all the businesses. All they needed to do was light it up and repave it. But when they did the same thing to MLK. It's a beautiful MLK. Some businesses are coming back, but planning, who did the planning? Florida Department of Transportation. They didn't care whether you made a left or right turn. It looked good. And what it did do was wipe out all of the businesses, and most of them were African-American businesses, on MLK. It was called Downtown Dunbar. So when you look at how we got here, but we can't get back, but I tell you what, there's a group here that, in Fort Myers, that just recently, the economic development group of this community, we created and the council voted and approved an overlay district. What's most important to get folks to come into this area and Palm Beach and do what they need to do without having enough property. One of the things is most important, and I've always said this, we have to market the area. Marketing is the most important thing. Like Stephen said, we have so much to offer that we sometimes don't understand what is out there. We have the river, we have the history here of Fort Myers, the people. That's more important. When you go other places and you see other things, well, where's our history? Well, some folk were at wheel sleep and let it be torn down. but we stored somebody else's. So there's a lot of history here. But marketing brings in the jobs. You know, new infrastructure brings in jobs. You know, with this new economic development plan, and we had the gentleman from the state of Florida here, says, you guys are on the right track. After, even during a downturn.
Thank you. Stephen?
This is a great question, and we have two amazing roadways that enable business prosperity to happen. They're two separate situations, though. There's an understanding, as Councilman Street said, that some old businesses were taken apart when the Department of Transportation came through and rebuilt MLK. I'm going to take it another step forward and say, well, that happened then. What do we do now? We now have a roadway leading right to 75. And as Councilman Street said, as a former marketer, a marketing executive, and understanding how to market businesses, we cannot assume that businesses are just going to come. We have to aggressively knock on their doors and tell them exactly what we are about. That takes a lot of groundwork. The same exact groundwork in a campaign. You can't just expect people to come out and vote for you, or to support you, or to understand and know about you. You have to get on the ground game, nip things in the bud, get out in the pouring rain, in the hot sun, at any time you possibly can, knock on doors, listen, meet, and greet. The same exact way when it comes to business, to drive businesses in our community. People know Fort Myers, but they don't truly know Fort Myers. We have to address what makes this city so special for them. They have a lower cost of real estate than any place else they may look at. They have absolute beauty that will encourage their employees to want to live here, whether they're transferring someplace else, out of state, or transferring